Hello, friends, and welcome to video 2 for the Ponderosa High School Introduction to Drawing class. I'm your host, Robert Chambers, and we are just going to jump right in once again. Um, where did we leave off? We left off with imagining the possibilities for this class as the Grand Canyon, and we're all up here in our little drawing group. I'm just a bit of a guide saying, where should we go? What does success look like? So we're just going to carry on with this little story here, trying to figure out where we're going to go. So I'm going to do another drawing here, and we're going to keep it quick. Shout out to Jonathan, who had mentioned in the chat earlier Halo, video games Halo. I'd never played one of those games, but I'm certainly familiar with the armor and the weapons and kind of the world building that's gone on, and just an amazing universe that those game designers have created. And he had mentioned that, and that would be like concept art for video game industry. And so it made me think like we're all kind of still standing up here, just getting our gear together, getting our canyon legs on, and we're looking at this big sign here, trying to figure out where to go. There's a trail. Maybe part of the trail goes one way, maybe the other goes the other way. Not a very good drawing, but I like it. I like it. I had mentioned Mike Lynn earlier, and one of the many things I'm grateful for with Mike Lynn, the teacher and designer and artist, is he would always say that whenever he was doing a drawing, and it felt like it was kind of coming apart and it wasn't going very well. He would say, "I like it." I really appreciate how he saw it was very important to have the right attitude towards your art and towards what you're creating. Sometimes you're going to make really nice drawings, sometimes you're going to make not so good drawings, and that's just how it is. And so you should just appreciate your creations and say, I like it. Because we're very quick to be critical with ourselves. And that's just a good way to, we're our own worst critics sometimes. Oh, I'm no good, I can't draw, blah, blah, blah. And another thing he used to say was, I'm just not done yet. So drawing might be falling apart. He's like, I'm just not done yet. Kind of like life, make some big mistakes. I'm just not done yet. So here we are up here at the top of the canyon, and there's a sign, and this sign kind of has all the things that we were mentioning in the earlier video, the different ways that we could go, the different places we could check out in the Grand Canyon of art and design. And those could be comic books, they could be graphic novels, they could be fine art, they could be children's book illustrations. Where do you want to go? And so I asked, what are you guys interested in? And Jonathan said, Halo. I love these books, the art. This is the art of Halo 5. Guardians. I'm not familiar with the video game, but I just love the books that contain all the concept art for these video games and movies, and you just really see kind of a lot of the process in here. And I wanted to share one thing in the introduction here, where the guy says that, so he's just talking about the process of doing this and ahead of the production curve. So if you think about like the finished video game is there, Halo 5, and there they start with nothing but an idea. And so they go through this production curve, and the curve is like it's a wave and it just keeps traveling that way. And ahead of the curve are the concept artists. Ahead of the production curve, you have concept artists. They're the folks who make the whole experience more concrete and reachable for production. They provide the feel of what's to come for an army of super creative minds eager to push the project forward. Simply put, they translate words into shapes and colors, but they obviously do so much more, perfectly embedding themselves into the needs of all teams during all phases of production. This book goes way beyond concept art, though, as it includes work from many artists throughout 343 industries, who shaped environments, props, vehicles, and weapons with amazing scrutiny and dedication. This is their book. So people from all these different industries, I'm sure people from the weapons manufacturing industry, people who design cars and airplanes and interior design, and people who design spaceships, people from NASA, people who try to figure out, engineers who say, that thing won't work unless you have this special type of material that holds it up because that's supposed to be super heavy. They just make sure that the world makes sense, that the electrical things make sense, that things work in this world. The other thing he says that I really like is, if you jump into a concept artist's shoes, this is what you will see: the future. They literally conceive visions that are yet to come. So, what an amazing job to get to design the future. So I thought that we would just take this as our inspiration, Halo, and I was just flipping through this book looking for something to draw. And I thought, I'm not really exactly sure what this is. The quote down here in the bottom says, "The forerunner grew Genesis. It's a totally artificial planet, so the landscape reflects the aesthetic of their technology in many ways." So maybe this planet is a synthetic planet. And that thing in the middle, it looks like some sort of, I don't know, it looks like some sort of reactor. Sorry about the glare there. I'm going to try to work on that. There we go. It looks like some sort of reactor or generator or teleporting machine. And today's lesson, we are going to do some things that will help us better understand how you would draw something like this. Okay, so here we are. We're at the top of the trail. We got our backpacks on. We got our pencils, got our sketch pads. We got some curiosity. We have some interest. And we're going to go, all right, so like down this way, it looks like this way is down to, we'll cruise down here. We'll go down there. We'll maybe go up over this saddle, try to like come over here. And then around there, maybe that's where that generator thing is, over there somewhere. We're going to travel to try to get there. We're going to practice our ellipses. And an ellipse is just a circle in perspective. So if you had a quarter and you were looking at the quarter from the edge, it would look like that. It kind of has those ridges on it. All right, so that's a quarter on edge. And if you let that quarter fall, you'll start to see it like this. Right, you see that ellipse there, and then pretty soon it's like that, and then pretty soon it's a circle as it falls. That's a terrible circle, but I like it. I'm not done yet. Well, maybe I am done. So an ellipse, this is just a circle in perspective. So practice your ellipses. You can ghost that line. Try to make them a good size. Make some fat ones. Make some really narrow ones. When I say fat and I say narrow, we're talking about the short axis here. The short axis. This is the long axis. This is the short axis. And as we're drawing ellipses, you just want to be aware that, just be aware that everything on either side of the short axis is equal. And we're really trying to harness the ability to draw on that short axis. And don't think too much about it. It's just something to be aware of. Just be aware of the short axis, but then just practice and just let your hand and your brain just kind of come to it and come to a familiarity and come to a smooth rhythm. You can go really, try going, different speeds. Try going really fast. Try going really slow and deliberate. And usually somewhere in between those is where you find your best ellipse making rhythm. Okay, so now that we have a page full of ellipses, now we're going to go back and maybe just touch them up a little bit if any of them need a little touch up. Yeah. And now we're going to draw an ellipse within the ellipse. And for these first few, we'll just make sure that the short axis is always parallel. So if I draw one, so if there's my short axis, I'm going to draw another ellipse within it, and the axis is going to parallel. That short axis is going to be parallel to those two right there. So essentially you're just drawing it kind of oriented the same. So draw an ellipse within the ellipse. Try touching it on the edge. Try touching it on the tip. Make a big one. Make a real big one. Make a small one. And now these other ones will do the same thing, but we're going to have the axis be perpendicular. The short axis is going to be perpendicular to this short axis. So that just means you're going to reverse the shape and try to kind of draw them like that. So now once you have an ellipse, I'm going to do something with this. This is kind of once you have ellipses within ellipses, now we're going to go back and do another ellipse inside that other ellipse. Whoa. And we're just having fun with ellipses, just practicing putting ellipses within ellipses. Maybe orient all these ones kind of the same as the one that you're putting them inside. And once you kind of get the hang of what we're doing, then try a few others. See what happens where with when you put those ellipses in one spot and then put another one in there. See, like that kind of creates this ring, just 3 ellipses. You have this little ring. And then even just with a few contour lines, like you can tell, oh, that's actually starting to look like an object of some sort, like an earring, or you can draw a donut like that. Right? If you want to draw a donut, let's see, draw a donut. Donut's more squishy, like it's more bready up there, like that. But then, I mean, it doesn't look really a whole lot like a donut. But then if you give a little frosting, then you got yourself a donut. Sprinkles. Okay. So go through, fill up the rest of this page with ellipses. Just get familiar with ellipses. Start to become comfortable with them. You don't limit yourself to 3. If you want to do 1 and just fill that sucker with ellipse after ellipse after ellipse, I don't know, you might get onto something. Check it out, see what happens. Explore the ellipses. There's endless possibilities. And now this drawing might make a little bit more sense to how we would approach it. You can see we've drawn that ring. I bet if you look at your page, you probably have something that's quite similar to that. Here there's a bunch of textures, and there's mechanical, parts, plates, and bits of technology and stuff. But that's the fundamental shape here, is that ring. You can see that one right there. That's just an ellipse. Ellipse inside an ellipse, inside a much bigger ellipse. And how you control those short axes, that determines your ability to give it thickness. Where that thickness ends, is it a straight wall going up in there? Is it curved like that? But all that just comes with feel. You can't really think about it too much. You just have to practice and play with it. And then this, you can tell that's another ellipse. So that's just the real basics. And if you can draw these 1, 2, 3 ellipses, and then an ellipse inside each one, well, you're almost halfway there to making this thing. So for your assignment today, do one of these pages. Should do one of these every day. I'm just going to keep suggesting it. This is a good warm-up. It's a good way to get ready to draw. It's a good way to prepare for what you're going to draw. So you can do that, and then do a page of ellipses. And from there, maybe for the day you feel like, I've done enough drawing for the day after you've done these 2 pages. Or maybe you feel like, I've just warmed up, I'm going to draw something. I hate to encourage you to continue on with more screen time, but Google image searching stuff that you're interested in. I get this great magazine called Cooks Illustrated, and it's just like a bi-monthly cookbook magazine, cooking magazine, and it's great. They have lots of illustrations, and people the people who illustrate that magazine, that's obviously what they're into. They probably don't, I mean, they would probably appreciate Halo in the same way that we're appreciating it, but it might not interest them. They're interested in drawing bell peppers and stuff. So whatever you're interested in, trust your gut. Everyone's interested in something different. And when your mind perks up and says, hey, that's kind of cool, I'm not really sure why, just take note of that. Pen's running out of ink. This is kind of nice. Like when a pen starts running out of ink, you get a lot of really soft lines sometimes, and really light lines. Sometimes I'll hold on to the pens that are running out of ink and keep them just in a different little jar. And then when I want construction lines, I know I can take that and I can just like press as hard as I want, and I'm just going to get nothing but awesome construction lines. But it doesn't really last for too long. It's a good way to get the most out of your tools. That one's about done. Okay, so on that note, happy drawing, and we'll see you back here next time.